Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody tonight. It's Wednesday, November 13th, 2019, and it is 6:08 p.m. I'm Pamela Spencer. I'm the city recorder, and I'm now going to call for a motion or a nomination to elect Mayor Pro Tem for the night. Can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we elect.
Oh, stop for 1 second.
I will stop.
One half a second. Forgot to start the audio. Too many things to remember. Okay, we're calling for a motion to elect the Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, I call for Chris Judd to be Mayor Pro Tem for this evening.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, roll call. Nate?
Yay.
Chris?
Yay.
I hope so. John?
Yay.
Okay, motion carries. We now turn the time over to Chris Judd, who will be the Mayor Pro Tem for the night, and he will also be the chair for the RDA meeting.
Just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and watching us live. We'll go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance and invocation, and John will give that for us.
If you would all rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the opportunity to gather as a community. We're grateful for the love we have of this area and this opportunity to be here at this time. Guide us as we do our best to make this a wonderful place for all of us to live. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Great. We're going to go ahead and open it up for public comments next. Just as a reminder, public comments is defined as time set aside for citizens to express their views for items not on the agenda. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Because of the need for proper public notice, immediate action cannot be taken in a council meeting. If action is necessary, the items will be listed on a future agenda. However, the city council may elect to discuss the item if it needs an immediate matter of concern. So please step to the podium, state your name, where you're from, and you'll have your time.
I have one that popped up. You're obviously living this. So is in your mind, is the immediate solution that you would like to see happen the one of the things you last said, which is no parking on your streets from 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. to 6 a.m.? Would that accomplish most of what is of concern at this point?
As we've talked, I believe.
Okay, I'm just trying to understand where you live it. So typically the people who live it have a better end game in mind than what I could try and figure out on my own. So that would be that would probably be the best end game scenario for your community.
Thank you. And
Okay. Okay.
the thing is, we've talked about, should
Mayor, if I may, at a staff level, we have met with a few of the community, and we have proposed an option that would follow closely our traffic calming process. So we're working on a proposal that we will present to the city council at the December meeting, where a neighborhood that is adjacent to high density housing may come into the city council and apply for parking restriction. So it would require, like Randy's mentioning, 75% of the neighborhood. So in that aspect, it would mirror very closely the traffic calming process that we currently have in place. We've talked through it at a staff level, and we feel like that'd be an appropriate way for us to handle it. We presented that to them, and they, in the limited conversations we've had, felt like that may address their concerns. So that's the staff's plan, that we'll get that put together and have that prepared for our next city council meeting.
So by our next meeting, we can have this resolved and put signage up and make that happen? Yeah, I agree, but is that what you're
That's
saying?
our plan, yes.
All right, that's
And Mayor Pro Tem, some of our folks will leave following this
Yes.
presentation, some will stay, so I didn't want anybody thinking we were being disrespectful.
Thank you, Randy, and thank you for all the citizens that have come out to voice your concerns, and thank you, staff, for helping. So appreciate it. Thank you, Claudia.
Okay. So they walk through the fields because they're afraid that they're going to get hit by a car walking to and from the bus stop in order to go to school because the traffic is going so fast. So I know there's a lot of runners and things down there, and the cars don't watch for them either. So anyway, just a little.
Thank you, Jamie. And any comment from staff? I think they're working on something, right?
Holdaway Road is tough. We don't have on the north end, Don. On the north end, there is a trail planned when that development comes in. On the east side of the road, there's intermittent trail through there. But on the south end, there's housing on both sides. We don't have the property to put a trail in. So unless that changes, it'd be very difficult for the city to put a trail that connected all the way to 400 South.
What about the sidewalk idea that I heard was an idea? Is that something that's possible?
I'll mention that.
Oh, go ahead, Nate.
I think I was a part of the decision to not do that. So, it's, as was mentioned, it's always been a small road, and with property and homes that butted right up close to that road, the decision was made to try to improve the road, but to minimize the take from the property owner. So it was a decision to say we need to take some property, but we're going to minimize how much of your front yard we take. And so the decision was made to not do that, to simply widen the road enough to get some additional asphalt. And then you've got the little narrow, concrete that is kind of holding that to keep it solidly in place. But ultimately, it was a decision to say we're not going to take any more than we have to away from those residents who have lived there their whole life. And so it was minimized, and that was a very conscious decision that was made. The other thing that I think I'll mention, and this is unfortunate. If I could go back and I could erase the downturn of 2008, I don't believe we'd ever be having this discussion about Holdaway Road today, because we would have had an overpass built a long, long time ago. And so we wouldn't have created the behavioral patterns that have developed where that road has become used the way it has. I think we would have had different things in place. That didn't happen. Things have gone differently with development and such, and we lost some of those things. And as a result of that, we've the path of least resistance has ended up taking the brunt of that traffic. So, but that kind of addresses some of that.
Thank you, Jamie, for your time. Appreciate it. Any other public comment tonight? Okay. Just a quick reminder, please silence cell phones if you have them. Just a good reminder. I always forget, so I'm usually the culprit. We'll go ahead and go into mayor and council member reports. Nate, do you have
Nothing.
nothing? Tice?
I just finished a 4-hour meeting with the Mountain Lands Association of Governments and the Lake Commission, where we discussed the development of the lake and transportation and the problems that we have of transportation around the lake. Since we have no east-west connections, we have an inappropriate burden on the major roads that do exist. So the planning was an attempt to try to address that in the next 30 years with 5-year plans. And one of the things that I vocally advocated for was the extension of the Vineyard connector, which they have placed on their short list, they said, to move up, since it will take the load off of Geneva Road and I-15. They're hoping to connect it up to a new freeway that they're going to start surveying for, they said, across the top of Utah Lake, which will be below the Pioneer Connector. So that's why I was late, but it was a good meeting.
Thank you, Tice. John? No? I don't have anything. We'll move into staff, commission, committee reports. Jake?
I'll be really quick. A lot of you probably saw the news articles or have been aware of this issue, but there's been a smell recently coming off the Geneva Steel plant, or the old Geneva Steel plant. We met with DEQ and the U.S. Steel guys this week. I actually spoke with our representative from DEQ today. They're working with the contractor right now to address the issue. They're developing an additional air quality monitoring plan to make sure that whatever the smell is a nuisance and not a health risk. So they'll keep the city apprised of plans moving forward. The smell is coming off of the coal tar pond that's on the north side of the site. So, and that material is being put into the CAMU, that landfill containment unit that they've built over recent months on that north side as well. So just moving the material, disrupting stuff that's been sitting in the ground for quite a few years is what's creating the smell. So just so you guys know or are aware of it, we've been meeting with them at a staff level and are working with them. We don't have any authority over the project. It's a permitted project through the EPA and DEQ, but they have been great at keeping us in the loop and are very responsive. So Mark Ruppno and Mark Wiltsey are the guys that came and did a presentation to the city council in August. They're our contacts locally and who we're working with. And that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you. Sergeant Rockwell, quarterly report.
So this is a report for the third quarter. If you look at our total CAD calls, we went down just slightly on those. Officer-generated calls went up, and the decrease was in the public-generated calls. Our case numbers were almost the same, just a little bit less. Arrests went down, traffic stops went up, and citations went up. One of the things when I look at these numbers, you know, when we're getting calls, obviously the guys are going to be less able to do more proactive work, and when we have less calls, they do more. And in the two and a half years that I've been doing these numbers, it almost always directly correlates. So like this one where the public generated calls went down, officer generated calls went up. And that's what I like to see, make sure the guys are out there being busy. So one of the things that I was really excited about was our response times for this third quarter went down to 3 minutes and 32 seconds, down dramatically from what we kind of set that goal of under 5 minutes, and for the last 2 quarters we're there. So that was really good. Burglaries are at 20, assaults and DVs at 25, and drugs and alcohol at 21. Just a little bit of movement on those numbers. So are there any questions on that?
I have a different question I was going to ask you, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
Just for our Holdaway longtime residents, if we can maybe, I don't know if I'm even allowed to ask you this, but if we can pay special attention from a law enforcement side to their road for a while, and maybe promote if people aren't going to stop, they're going to pay for it, kind of make them aware that we're there, you're there, and if we can do that. And I don't know if I'm allowed to ask that, but
no, that's fine.
Kind of asking that, if that's okay.
Holdaway Road is on the list of our extra patrol areas that we patrol. I have a staff meeting tomorrow. I'll bring that back up tomorrow and redirect that.
You're awesome.
So,
thank you.
any other questions on that report?
Sergeant, I know, we had some, at least my kids shared some videos of some things that happened around Halloween. As we go into the busy holiday season and all the gifts and things like that, whether it's through our newsletter or whether it's through city social media, I just anticipate that we're going to see, these numbers we may see some different kinds of numbers as a result of all that type of activity that I would assume is probably going to come. I don't know why it wouldn't come, or what are we doing to try to minimize, that man, you do that in Vineyard, you're going to get shot. We don't tolerate that. As a neighborhood and through Neighborhood Watch or whatever it's going to be, we look out for one another.
Yeah.
What do we do with regard to that
One of the
activity?
things we work on, package thefts usually go up around the holidays. And one of the things we've done the last few years is obviously through our social media page in the cities, just remind the public to be mindful of their packages and track them. I mean, most of the time you get told when it arrives, try and get those inside as quickly as possible, but also keep an eye out for people that look like they don't belong. We have over the last couple of years caught some of the package thieves.
And candy thieves.
Yeah, the Halloween we did catch the candy thief thanks to a citizen resident tracking him down. We made a traffic stop. Somebody was stealing candy bowls at 11:45 at night, trick or treating, I guess. So that person did get charged with theft. So, but I think public education on those things really, and making sure that people are looking out for each other and letting us know when something suspicious happens. And then the other thing that is important is directing my guys to be out in the neighborhoods. Hopefully you noticed us on Halloween in the neighborhoods. We, especially during the trick-or-treat hours, we tried to really heavily patrol those areas. So we'll continue to do that, and please call us with any concerns.
And one other thing, since the public is potentially paying attention to this, and maybe for our social media, I don't work for Amazon, but Amazon does have a program where you can purchase for pretty inexpensive, I think it was like $15, something that goes to your garage so that the driver can click open your garage, put it in your garage, close the garage, and nothing else, you eliminate the potential of it being taken. So maybe something for our social media page. I don't know, again, if we're allowed to do that, but I know Amazon's doing it. I don't work for them, but it just seems like a good way to avoid that.
Sorry, you'll have to come to the microphone.
Oh, they don't do that in our area? Oh, I see. Okay.
One of the things we've talked.
Let him make a comment real quick.
I've got
Say your name real quick.
Steve Steenblick. I live on South Mallard, the farthest house on Mallard that's finished. Anyway, I've looked into it. I've installed it, and they're just not in the area yet.
No.
So
Maybe next Christmas.
Yeah,
Sorry,
but
everyone.
you can, if you're really concerned with it, they do have lockers around,
Yes, they
and
do.
you can have it put it into a locker and go get it out of a locker.
There's
Thank
another
you.
idea. There's another idea.
That's what we've talked about. I don't know that we've finished our application yet, but we have started an application to be an Amazon site so that people could have a secure location here at the offices to pick up packages.
Great. Thank you, Sergeant.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Morgan.
Yeah, really quickly. Christy had to leave early, asked me to do the update on for the Planning Commission. So the Planning Commission met on November 6th last week, and they had 5 items on the agenda. First was a sign standard waiver for the American First Credit Union. That's the building west of the Starbucks. And so they requested another wall sign that was approved. Alpine Pediatrics Medical Office Building, their site plan and elevations, architectural drawings were approved. So that's a 12,000 square foot building that'll be located just south of where Panda Express has been constructed right now. And so that's exciting because that'll be 3 medical office buildings that are going to be under construction about the same time. All of them on the Yard B plat area. We did have a video. We watched a video with the Planning Commission from Jeff Speck, and so we talked about him. He's the guy doing the town center, and I would recommend looking up some of his TED Talks on YouTube, because that gives you kind of the underlying principles of where this design is coming from. And then we did have a public hearing for a text amendment to the daycare and preschool regulations of our code. Additionally, we adopted the Planning Commission 2020 calendar. That's everything.
Great. Any questions for Morgan or Planning Commission? No? Pam, did you have anything?
I do. Election is almost over. The ballots are in, they're being counted. We will have the final count on November 19th. There will be a special session strictly to certify the results of that election. It'll start at 6 p.m. that day. And so we invite you to come and see the results of our ranked choice voting that was done this year.
Great. Did I miss any other staff that need to make reports? No? Okay. Let's go ahead and move on. There's no discussion items tonight, so we'll go ahead and move into the consent items. Do we have a motion on those?
I move to approve the consent items as presented.
Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Great. So no mayor appointments tonight. I probably shouldn't do that when Julie's gone, right? Okay.
No, point away. Go for it. No.
Business items. Let's go ahead and move into the business items. We just appoint her to do a lot of more stuff, right? We'll go to Morgan for 9.1 on the public hearing.
Sure. So this was a report that was put together by McKenna March, our planning technician. So she wasn't able to make it tonight, and so I'm gonna try to not screw this up too much. So this was the public hearing that the Planning Commission held in their last meeting. They did recommend approval of it. What it does is it takes the home daycare and the preschool provisions of our code, and it makes them consistent throughout. Currently, we treat home daycares and preschools differently depending on where they're at, whether it's the Water's Edge district or the rest of the city that doesn't fall within a special zoning district. And so what these regulations do is it makes it consistent in that both home daycares and preschools can have up to 6, and that's 6 students. That's a permitted use. And so basically that requires them getting the home daycare or preschool license through our business licensing administratively. Staff would still look at it. Building department would look at it as well. Then it does allow above that up to 10 to go through a conditional use permit, and then that would allow the Planning Commission to look at it and to add conditions. And that's kind of good because when you do more kids, you want to look at the outside playground a little bit more when it's adjacent to someone else's house. We looked at what Draper does. They require a security plan and also a parking drop-off pickup plan. So they want to know how kids are going to be secure on the site. And also this would we made it so it's consistent with the building code too. And so the more children you have, then in speaking with George, he indicated that they would require an additional egress. So instead of just like if they went in the basement, instead of just an internal access down to the basement, they'd be required to add an external. So it provides kind of an additional layer of control. So the Planning Commission did recommend approval of it, and it's before you tonight.
Yeah, I have just a quick question on this. Did we, for any of our Vineyard residents who are running a business of this nature, is what we're doing tonight going to hurt them or mess with their business in a negative way?
No, it bumps it up from 9 to 10. So it makes a more of a round number for the amount of students. It does require additional caregiver on site once you go 8 or more. And so, there's
no complaints from existing business owners.
Yeah, this wouldn't.
They're aware of these changes, and everyone. There's no complaints, so to speak, from our existing residents that have these businesses.
Yeah, if anything, it ups the number of students slightly, but it does provide an additional level of control once they go above that minimum standard.
Off the top of your head, because we're talking specifically about preschool and daycare, I mean, do we know how many are actually registered businesses? Because I think that might, it's the follow-up to that question.
Yeah, I would have to get with Kelly. I believe McKenna did look at that, and I believe we had a couple. And there are we do know of a few that don't have a license and are operating. So we are trying to work with them to get them into compliance with our local regulations. They also still have to meet any state regulations as well.
And these standards that we're implementing are commonplace numbers. These aren't just kind of pulled out of a hat. This is something that's pretty standard and accepted.
Yeah, I mean, it's consistent with building code too. We align that, so once you hit the that threshold for students, that's where we kind of align the conditional use permit. That was George's overall concern. If you have more kids, then it requires that second egress into a basement.
Question, Morgan, do we currently allow this in all zoning districts, or are we expanding it to include that?
Yeah, so we do. And we allow it, but you do have to meet the building code, and so it's a where we see it as single family. We haven't seen it like in townhomes or anything like that. But yeah, wherever you have a single family right now, it's allowed, but it's controlled differently. In Water's Edge, it's a conditional use permit. If you were to do one at Homesteads, it's a permitted use. So so it's inconsistent in how the rules are applied in our code.
So how I mean, if somebody in the preserve comes in and wants to do something like this, we're now saying it's permitted. They could have up to 10 with a conditional. I mean, are we
Yes,
are we encouraging that?
We're not changing the overall location, and so we would have to look at building code. We haven't had a request in our townhomes or multifamilies for a daycare.
Okay.
I think technically right now under the code, if someone came in for a townhome, we would have to look at it. We would have to meet building code, and so we haven't had that request, and so. What it does do is it makes like the procedures consistent so that everyone has to follow kind of the same rules as far as the process they go through to get permit.
Okay. Thoughts, questions, motions?
Comfortable to make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-09.
Oh, it is a public hearing.
Oh,
so,
sorry, that's correct.
Yeah.
It's a what?
You can tell I haven't done this before. So.
To open the public hearing.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then after that.
Can we have a motion to open?
I make a motion to open a public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have a public hearing now on this subject. If you have comments, please come to the speaker. Okay. We have a motion to close.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or motions?
Clarification. So what we're doing is we're rationalizing our code, changing it so it's uniform.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't expand the opportunity or shrink the
No,
opportunity.
it does. So it goes from 9 to 10.
Well, I mean, but to do the business.
No, yeah, it doesn't decrease property rights.
Okay. Good.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-09 and ordinance 2019-10.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
And this is roll call. Sorry.
Okay. Nate?
Yay.
Tice?
Yay.
I'm yay. John?
Yay.
Okay, it passed. Let's go ahead and move into discussion and action 9.2 flashing signs. Chris, are you leading this discussion?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. So my goal here is to report to you the findings of Holdaway Road and how we propose to address it, or some options and how we propose to address it or help to calm the issues that we have currently. some background on the area. I think we're all pretty familiar. There's been quite a bit talked about tonight. Holdaway Road is a unique scenario. It's the only underdeveloped street, one of the only underdeveloped streets that we have in Vineyard, which lacks a full cross-section usability by pedestrians, bikers, and vehicles, which makes it hard. It's narrow, and there's a lot of concerns there. So we were approached by the residents and a committee that was formed by the residents. I was able to meet with them along with Councilman Flake, and we discussed the issues and the concerns they had. And the majority of the concerns all appeared to point towards issues with speeding, essentially breaking the rules and the laws that we have now. And one of the major issues on that road is the volume, which on a staff level for us is very difficult to control, and we can't control the development of the area and where the roads and infrastructure goes. That's controlled by the people with the money and the desire to develop that land as it goes. We have hopes that in the near future that improvements to the infrastructure network, this road will see relief in the volumes of traffic. But meanwhile, as we have the issues with the speeding, one of the solutions that seemed worthwhile to move forward on at this time was to implement some traffic radar or speed radar signs that would flash and similar and display the speed of the driver, similar to what's in Sleepy Ridge. There's two options that we're proposing with this, and that is to the staff felt it to be effective and efficient with our funding to try to circulate the existing traffic radar signs that we have in the city, which would be in Sleepy Ridge. And as those already circulate within that development, we would queue those into Holdaway Road as well. The other option would be to purchase permanent signs that would cost in the range of $7,300 for two, and maybe some additional hardware and anchors and posts and such that would maybe be around $500 in addition to that. So we hope that this would give us the data that we need to pass along to the law enforcement to know when and how to patrol that area better. We would be able to take that information and work with it to know how to better deal with the traffic issues on this road. Any questions or concerns?
My first question would be the radar signs that are up on Holdaway Road right now. I know from speaking with David that they were purchased from a private residence, which is phenomenal for them to take that on and do that. But they have those there. One of them, I guess, is not working anymore. My thought is the radar signs. I mean, one, looking at getting the one working that's not working, is that an option for us to maybe do, or is the location of those two not ideal based on what we want to see happen? These are things I'm trying to understand.
So currently, on a staff level, we don't feel like the location of those are in an effective place.
Okay. Where's the more effective place?
So we're planning on putting it more near the center of the straightaway on the northern end. In geographically, it'll be in the center of Holdaway Road, north to south, but it'll be more in the straightaway section that will get people before
where the speed picks up typically.
Before they're picking up their speed, or in the middle, so that they can slow down.
Okay.
Sooner, rather than once they're into the denser area that has the tighter.
And there's a bend right there, and hopefully, inherently, you would slow down, but okay.
The other concern with the existing signage that's there is that it's not city property. So if they would, the owners of those signs would like donate those to the city, we would use them, we would relocate them, we would maintain them. But as of right now, they're not city property.
What if we offered to buy them from them since they bought them, or something to that effect?
And that's a possibility as well.
I mean, that's not really their responsibility.
Can I ask a follow-up question on that? Quality-wise, would you say that at the same level as what you have in Sleepy Ridge or not?
I don't know, not
Okay.
knowing the models and,
So we don't know.
and whatnot. The other thing that we would want, that we would prefer is you have colors of signs. So yellow is not a regulatory sign, and so we would prefer to be a white sign.
You mean the ones that they already have there are not?
Correct.
They're not legal because they're not white.
It's not that they're not legal. It's just a white
But
sign.
ultimately, it's not really enforcing anything anyway. It's just a reminder to slow
Correct.
down.
Correct.
I mean, ultimately, I mean, what we all want to see is cameras, but we got to go through the state of Utah to get that to happen, because that's what we need. We need cameras that take pictures, and we give tickets because that's what slows people down. Is their pocketbooks.
It would just be the preference
But-
for them to be white. I'm not saying that has to be.
So how many signs do we have that we can move?
So currently in Sleepy Ridge, there are 2 signs that circulate in the Sleepy Ridge subdivision.
So what do they cost?
Is that the 7,300?
So for new signs, they would be similar to those. They're $7,300 for pair.
Okay.
We're not currently moving signs around in Sleepy Ridge, are we?
Yes.
Directionally, so they'll
change them.
input coming in versus out at both locations, so they can track which way. Any comments about those? I mean, you can't. I mean, you.
Well, yeah, you live there too, so go for it. You start.
Yeah, living on a straightaway like many of you, I live with one of the signs in front of me. It's right in front of my house, so I understand what's happening. I can tell you over time, personal opinion, living front, it hasn't made a difference. People will see them to begin with, and then just like sign fatigue happens, they tend to not care. And I'll be honest, it is, and maybe John can refute this, but it's residents, it's people within our own neighborhoods. So that's something that I worry that maybe we're putting a Band-Aid on a bigger problem, but I'm not against rotating.
So a follow-up question about that: Are we pulling consistently? Are we pulling any data from those signs to continue to monitor and see what's happening over time, or have we just put it up hoping that it would fix it?
Dawn has sent me the data. I actually ask for it. I don't know how many other people do, but I ask for it on quite a regular basis.
In fact, we normally pull that data at least every 3 or 4 months before we switch them, the locations. And I will send that to anybody who wants it. In fact, in our last staff meeting, the sheriff wanted us to start sending the reports to him so that he can see approximately when people are speeding, how much they're speeding,
Yes.
what the 85 percentile is, that type of information.
The benefit I see is that. So when you know the time that the people are speeding, we don't have cameras. But when you have the benefit of the time, that's when law enforcement can use their best hours to be there. And that has been a benefit for sure. But there will still be speeders, unfortunately.
The nice thing about actually rotating them is that they're not there all the time, and so people don't become numb to them. Different studies I read, they're effective up front, but after left there for long periods of time, people stop paying attention. They're carrying. So with them rotating, it would kind of help that as a reminder.
Yes, I really disagree with that, because I think
when that light starts, I go, oh yeah, okay, I got to slow down. It works well for me personally as a reminder, and it's caught me Many times I'll look and like, oh, I'm going 30, and I'll back off. I'll back off to 25 or 20, depending on where I'm at. So it works.
In Sleepy Ridge, it's 20,
me.
right?
Yeah, it's 20. Yes, Chris. Where we live, it's 20. Holdaway is 25. Anyway, sorry, Nate, go ahead.
No, I think that my concern was it's about human behavior, and I'm not an expert in it, but it would seem to me that the minute you take it away, you take it down, you move it to another location, that we forget very quickly. I mean, we have to be using the data. If we are not using the data, then yeah, I mean, I think we're hoping on a prayer to fix a problem. And even as we look at the data, I think we have to be really careful about saying, well, let's look at the 85th percentile. What things may factor into that? Do we have cars that are able to come in and we're not getting a true picture of what's really happening with speed because we've got cars that come in that pull that average one direction or another? I mean, if we're not using the data and really combing through that data, but I think I'm concerned about human behavior, that you take it down, you move it, and then suddenly you've got, all those residents over there that are going to be right back in here saying, we've got a problem again.
One idea that I would like to propose is, I think immediately, whether we look at reimbursing the person that purchased those, that's a potential idea. I also really like the idea of 2 of these on Holdaway in the ideal location. But what I think we consider is that we don't necessarily have to keep them up there forever, because when the Center Street overpass goes in, Holdaway could improve. But they're shaking their heads, that's impossible. But maybe down the line, we have these in the city that they can be rotated at some point. I don't think we rotate Holdaway anytime soon, but for right now, I do think the immediate need is 2 very well-functioning, both directions, potentially new ones, to make sure Holdaway Road is as protected as we can make it for the time being.
It's also Fourth South. When Fourth South gets expanded and opened and it's connected to Main Street, it's not only the overpass, but we've got another significant road that needs to get expanded and completed,
Connection to Main Street,
which will also impact greatly. Those 2 things, the road on each side, the north and the south, the Center Street connection, the 4 South and Main Street connection, those are going to ultimately going to have the big impact, I think, on eliminating it.
So enticement, it sounds like you've been through the process with the residents. What comments do you have?
Well, in the process of discussing this, I think the residents understand this is an extremely difficult and not totally solvable problem today. It's going to take a series of activities to do this. And I agreed with the suggestion that I think my personal input is that we buy one more sign. And that sign be placed on Holdaway and moved between the south end and the north end. However we want to do it. From the initial, at least, correct me if I'm wrong, David, some of the initial data from those signs indicated speeds ranging from the speed limit to as high as 50+ miles per hour, correct? So, right. Our issue is we've got a school down there that we have a whole lot of, and I don't know specifically what neighborhood, but we have a whole lot of moms driving their kids to school, and when they're late, they drive like demons from hell down that road. Okay, so that's a behavioral issue that we have. It's a structural issue. I think the sign would be helpful. Is it going to solve the problem? No. I also brought up the issue that we've got trucks using that road, and just this week we had cement trucks going up and down that road. That's absurd, that size of road. There needs to be a way to stop truck traffic from that road, which is going to inconvenience a lot of builders, but that's life. So those were my suggestions. I don't think we can solve the problem by waiting it to be solved, obviously. I think a resolution is going to cost us money that's worthwhile. If we move signs around actively, then maybe that'll work. But it has to be not every 3 months.
What, can we let Dave Larray come? Would you like to speak on behalf of the residents? Great.
Thank you, David Ray, Waldway Road. So a couple of comments. First of all, Councilman Judd, in all due respect, you talk about how the traffic down there is all your neighbor is speeding in Sleepy Ridge, and that really makes sense because you've got to be going to Sleepy Ridge to get there. I mean, you're not passing through. Whereas in Holdaway Road, it's a whole different situation. It is the only way to get from the south end of the city to the middle of the city, because of the way you've designed the roads, the way you've allowed it to be changed and so forth. I know we have Vineyard Road, but we've made modifications there with that traffic circle. Now, yes, I know people are supposed to be able to drive over the inner edge. There should be a problem, but people aren't comfortable doing that. And so they choose to go the way it's most convenient for them, which is right now Holdaway Road. It causes a great deal of traffic. There's a lot of danger there. I have actually stood up. I was been weeding out there in my front yard. Stood up and I had to reach out and bounce my hand off a car that's going by, so I wouldn't get hit by it. It's just dangerous. I know that it doesn't make sense financially to do anything until someone dies, and then it'll be all of a sudden worthwhile to do all sorts of things there. But we need to take action that's reasonable. We understand that because of the way things have developed, that we can't quite fix the entire thing right now. But no offense, but it sure looks an awful lot like everyone's been slow leaking us an awful lot. Well, we'll put these little postage-sized stamps, postage-stamp-sized signs up there to tell us that there's a gross weight limit on the road. Have you seen them? Have you driven by? Have you seen them? Have you looked at them? You know, they're there. But they're so small you can't see them. And if you're a truck driver, you couldn't see them till on the road. So that wasn't a very good solution, and it felt disingenuous when they did that. And I have had a lot of neighbors tell me they thought for sure they were just trying to get rid of us by doing that little thing. So if we're going to do something, let's try to do something that's reasonable and that could possibly be effective. It seems to me that if we put a couple of signs over in front of Jeff Thompson's home where the current traffic speed limit signs are right now, that you could make a difference. I mean, people are going through there. They're not, it's not the neighbors we have trouble with. It's as Councilman Flake said, it's the commuters going through who might be late for school or whatever the situation is, that speed through there. If we were to, we do have some data available from the signs that are there. Those are privately owned signs, and so we've been told that because they're privately owned, we really can't rely on them as from the public safety point of view. They can't really use those data. It's interesting, but they can't act on it. So, and I don't understand that exactly why we couldn't do that. It seems to me that they at least give us some ideas of time to be patrolling there. And it seems to me also we should have a lot more patrolling going on. And frankly, a lot more ticket issuing. If we were to do that, we certainly can adjust behavior because people don't like having to pay tickets. And so it seems to me that that's a big part of the solution here. For the temporary solution would be to post it well, to notify people what's going on, and then ticket them when they don't obey the traffic laws. We know we can't control the volume on there just yet, but we would like to at least control the speed. And we think that's a reasonable thing for the city to do, and especially in light of public safety.
Thank you, David. Appreciate it. I think, Jake, you had a comment, but I first wanted to clarify, David, my comment of neighbors. My extension of neighbor is more than just my neighbor to my left and right. So in Sleepy Ridge, my neighbor is Holdaway Road. My neighbor is the Orem neighborhood. So when I say neighbors, I'm referring to all those neighborhoods are around you. It is us. I think we can collectively say it is us. I think majority of speeders would be Vineyard residents or neighbors. But Jake, go ahead.
I feel like from a staff perspective, we've responded. You heard from Holden tonight that he was going to have additional patrol on that lot, and the staff presentation tonight is to put signs on Holdaway Road. So, Dave, from your perspective, I know we can't take the data from your signs, but our response is let's add patrols and let's put a sign. So, is there something that we're missing that was discussed in the meetings as a potential solution, or?
I mean, I think the obvious thing that needs to happen is we need to approve 2 signs for Holdaway Road right now, not in 2 weeks, not in a month. Like David said, the saddest thing would be to wait until one of those special needs boys that I see out there getting hit. How sad would that be? And then, yeah, how much money will we put towards it at that point? We need to do this now.
I think we all see the gravity of the moment. I think Jake's question was, is there something lacking from the proposal? David?
I wasn't part of the meeting, so I'm
Yeah.
not privy to all the information. So if there's something missing, I'd like to know.
I think some of the feedback you're getting right here is, I heard you say temporary solution, and so we're wondering, are we pushing? This might help a little bit, but was there something missing that you think needs to be added?
Well, in the long term, we think that the Holdaway Road needs to be blocked off. But we understand we can't do that until we make connections from Center Street down to 400 South and so forth. We know that has to happen first. And we're trying to be reasonable about that. But the only way to adjust people's behavior is to just make it impossible for them to go that way. The residents, we've had a lot of discussions about this, and most of the residents are in favor of it. I think we have enough to sign to fill out the petition. So but we know that's not a reasonable thing to request. Right now, we're trying to be reasonable. And as far as the request for right now, yes, if we do these things, it would be helpful. But we've asked for them before. We've been told we would get them before, and they haven't happened. And so if it happens, yeah, that would be good. But I've been at this now for 6 months or more. And now we're just starting to get down to a discussion about whether or not we'll put the signs up.
Can I ask a question? Did we have a traffic engineer as a part? Because that was required during the Sleepy Ridge. We were required to meet with Mr. Hale. So did we have a traffic engineer as a part of this?
No.
Can I make a comment? So I want to address just for a moment the two signs that are up there. So I happen to work for the man that purchased those. He's been my boss now for 3 years. He is a man of action, and throughout his experience in a lot of municipalities, recognizes and sees that government moves very, very slow. And maybe for a variety of reasons, but sometimes really difficult to justify why government moves slow on some of these issues. And so he took it upon himself to contact a vendor. It wasn't just any guy off the street. It wasn't somebody that was just selling speed signs off of KSL. It's a legitimate vendor that sells speed signs to municipalities and other entities that use those. They are used signs. He was able to get them at a discount. It's my understanding they're both currently not working. So if there is an interest, though, from the city, and if they could be used, and the city wanted to use them, the city wanted to take some initiative to maybe relocate them
I know they simply got placed in a couple of very convenient locations. Because again, he was taking the initiative upon himself to try to do something rather than wait for government to go through its process over months or years to come to a decision. And he's just not going to do that. He's not that kind of a man. So the one ends up on his property, the other one ends up on a pole that technically it shouldn't be on, but it is. And so again, if the city, I know he would be interested, he would be willing to work with the city to use those, and if they can't be fixed, or they're going to quote unquote not provide reliable data, then I don't think there's any expectation for the city to use something like that. He'll go back and get his money back. But if they can be fixed and they can provide that kind of data, and the city wants to relocate those to better positions, I think he would be completely willing to work with the city to move those.
I'm sure the signs are great. I just say the data it'd be nice to see what's provided from both, because the data that's provided from the other signs I think is amazing for a data nerd. So I mean, you get everything you could ever want. So if it provided the same thing, and is there a warranty on those signs? I mean, if they're already not working, that's a concern.
Well, I'll just point out, did you ever get the signs for special needs? Okay. We had 3 issues, and I'm sympathetic with the group. We talked about this for weeks, and it's been slow and painful. We need the speed signs, period. We need to have large no truck signs and have it enforced. And we need the special needs signs. Did we ever get the doctor information? Okay, well, we have to have that, or those don't go. So that's what's needed. I found their needs to be self-evident. I agreed with their plan, and I think we need to act on it. But that's just me. I need 3 people to say yes.
I agree with you. I will vote for the new signs, because that's the only thing we can do tonight.
So if you notice on our agenda, it says this cost would come from non-budgeted funds. So I believe that somewhere we've grown to a point. It seems like we've had a few of these issues come up. We have a few of them that come up throughout the year. I believe somewhere within the size of our budget, we can find $7,300 to appropriate and put towards this. I can't go put my finger on that today at the moment, but
that's why I exist. I mean, if you guys give us direction, you guys set the priorities for funding in the city, and if this is a priority right now, we don't have budgeted funds for it, so we made a proposal that fell within our approval. If you guys want to approve more signs, then we'll take that back and we'll find funding for it.
Okay.
And I'm also in favor of the speed signs. I think the initial, it will add benefit at the beginning. I just have seen a diminished benefit over time, and it is directly in front of my house.
And I think later on another topic could be moving things around. But for right now, let's fix the problem.
I agree, and I think when you make a motion, I know one concern I have is not this neighborhood, but this could become a common occurrence, and so that's why I think also staff mentioned the proposal of rotating. And I don't think that was brought up yet, and so
I think later on, I agree that could be a possibility for sure.
Well, I guess to continue that thought, I mean, as you consider some of our roads, I get that it could come up, but you won't have another road in this city like Holdaway Road. That part of it's not going to happen, right? So you will have You will have sidewalks. You know, I mean, I guess maybe I've taken my life into my own hands, but I walk that road every week. I don't let my wife walk down the center of the road, but I stand out in the road, and I'm going to force somebody to pay attention to me standing out there, and they're going to slow down or they're going to move over. So you're not going to find that in other parts of the city. We're not approving roads like that anywhere, right? So that aspect of it's not going to ever be the same. But I do get the point that there potentially are going to be other neighborhoods where we may deal with that, and at that point, council will have to address it, and maybe down the road we come back. Maybe the road gets blocked off at some point, right? And at that point, the bases stay in the ground, and you move, relocate signs somewhere else. So, Mayor Pro Tem, are you willing to?
Yeah, make a
entertain
motion.
Yeah, Nate, somebody, yeah, do it.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we move forward and authorize staff to locate the funds. These are non-budgeted funds, but to locate the approximately $8,000 for signs and bases and hardware to be able to install 2 signs along Holdaway Road.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We miss you, Wayne. Let's go ahead and move on to 9.3, discussion and action of the 2020 meeting schedule. What do we got to discuss about this?
Yeah, just gonna approve it. You've read my report. It's just standard for the year. If you want to make any changes to that, you have to have it done by ordinance, and this is why we do it in November. So if you do want to make those, we can put that on the agenda for December. Otherwise, just need to approve it. I recommend approval.
Do you have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 calendar.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll go ahead and, is there a motion to close, or I'm sorry, to adjourn? A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a RDA? We do, right? Okay. Yeah, that one's been used too much.